Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, February 10th. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor of the Times. Joined with me today is Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor of the Times, and Times columnist Mark Kiesling. We're going to be talking about the week's political developments, and there was quite a bit going on this week. Let's start off locally with what's going on with the Little Cal maintenance fee, the efforts to pay for the needed maintenance to the levees that protect the people near the river.
Well, there's a bill that just passed out of House Committee that would assess a maintenance fee to provide for upkeep for the newly constructed levee that's been put along the Little Cal. It's been under construction for years. It's nearing completion physically, but it will not be considered complete by the Army Corps of Engineers until there's a maintenance fee structure in place to make sure that there's money to keep it for its upkeep.
So then the concern is, how do you keep it up? It's one thing after we spend these millions and millions and millions of dollars and decades to build this thing. How do you make sure that we maintain it?
And who pays for it? I think that's
exactly.
That's going to be the key question. Who pays for it? And how much do they pay? Do you try to spread the injury across a wide amount of people, so they pay less, or do you just come up to the watershed and have only the people who are directly within the watershed of the Little Calumet and the Burns Waterway paying for it, which means that it'll be more. It's already changed. The minimum was started out at $25. It's already changed to $50 as an amendment.
Yeah, and when we're talking about the watershed, Mark, we're not just talking about the areas adjacent to the river.
No. There's
anything that drains
amounts,
to it.
Mm-hmm. Large amounts.
It'll something like 150,000 parcels.
It'll go out as far as Crown Point. But interestingly enough, the bill does not include anything in Porter County, which is going to probably be one of the sticking points when it hits the floor. Mm-hmm. One of its sponsors is Ed Soliday from Porter County, and he may have some splaining to do.
Well, or he may not. I mean, it may be why they picked somebody from Porter County to carry the bill, because he'll feel less backlash.
But you've also got two Lake County. You got one Porter County Republican, Soliday. You got two Lake County Democrats, Mara Candelaria-Reardon and Chet Tovis, who are also sponsoring this bill. So it's a bipartisan bill, and it's a bi-county bill.
Mm-hmm. You know what I find fascinating about this is that we know, first of all, that you can't rely on the municipalities along it to do it, because it wouldn't get done.
Which is too much money for any one municipality to
right.
To take
and you have the people who were being removed from the floodplain, presumably as a result of this, and so they're receiving a direct financial benefit from that. And so will they have to give it back?
But remember now, not everyone in the watershed is considered to be in the floodplain.
Exactly.
So you'll have people that will not be seeking any type of break on their flood insurance who now have this extra levy. And Candelaria-Reardon has been very careful and very adamant, saying this is not a tax, but because it is not directly related to your property. But I mean, in the history of America, the stamp tax was not related to your property either, but it was a tax. This is a tax by just a differerent name. You call it a maintenance fee, call it a user fee, call it what you want.
And we should also say that this is not without precedent, because the Kankakee River has levees as well, and so one of the proposals years ago was to say let's maintain the Kankakee levees by having something similar in several counties that drain to the Kankakee, tax all of those properties or charge them a fee, however you want to word it. But that has gone nowhere.
Well, I think some of the problem right now is that they want to raise. I was talking to Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott yesterday, who was recently elected chairman of the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and he had said that one of his concerns is that they want to raise between his figures said between 7 and 10 million, and there's no accounting for what they want to do with it. Where do they want to put this money? obviously, these levies have just been completed. They don't need a lot. They don't need $7 to $10 million worth of work right out of the gate. What's going to happen to the money? Where's it going to go? What's going to be done with it? Who's going to administer it? And he said the administration now would be done by the Little Calumet River Basin Watershed Commission. Things got like 6 names, and but none of whom are elected officials. And he said he would rather see it done by the County Drainage Board, which is made up of the 3 county commissioners and the Lake County Surveyor,
And-
all of whom are directly accountable to the public at the voting booth.
And basically what you have to do is you have to clear log jams, make sure the water keeps flowing along this channel, and make sure that the levees don't erode. That's, you know,
Well, yeah, sure.
how much else is there to do?
That's your basic two functions. Get the crud out of the river, make sure nothing jams under the bridges. So where some of the problems came in 2008, which caused the horrendous flooding all along the Little Calumet. Keep that stuff from happening. Keep the waterway clear, and maintain the integrity of the levee itself.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, moving on to state politics, Governor Mitch Daniels, there's increasing noise around him in terms of being a possible presidential candidate. This week, he was in the news a lot this week. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal on health care reform, kind of a letter leading other Republican governors and urging the White House to make some changes in reform to help the states. And he's also this week speaking at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee convention in Washington, D.C., which is this big annual gathering of conservatives.
Right. And he's the Friday night keynote speaker, so that'll be one worth watching to see what he has to say. He was interviewed prior to that by some people from Politico, and the quote they had was from Daniels was, he said, we would have an unbelievable letterhead, meaning that, you know, he's got a lot of money coming in, he's got a lot of support. And so, you know, it's looking more and more likely that he's not just sticking his toe in the water, but he's on the diving board.
Yeah, and one of the more interesting things about his presence at CPAC is that there were some other groups, very conservative, more socially conservative groups, that pulled out of that event specifically because Daniels was invited to speak there. And it kind of speaks to what happened earlier, which was he kind of called for this truce on social issues so that the party could focus on economic issues.
Financial issues.
And he's not backing down.
Well, he's always been known, I mean, from his days in the Bush administration, as a fiscal conservative, but not necessarily as particularly social conservative. Not that he's
So
liberal.
this race, you know, 2012 will be the determining factor. You know, who becomes the party's candidate. That'll tell you which direction the party's headed.
Yeah.
Well, which I think will be interesting because I think a lot of the people in the country are looking for someone who's not incredibly divisive on social issues, but can take a firm hand at the tiller when it comes to financial issues. Because that's what people are really worried about right now. Is where's this country headed financially?
Well, there's another race that really could tell us where the state Republican Party is headed,
Right.
And that is Richard Lugar, the longtime Indiana senator who now has a challenger in the primary. Richard Murdoch this week basically made it clear that he's going to challenge Richard Murdoch, the state treasurer. He's going to challenge Lugar in the primary.
And not only is he definitely challenging Lugar, or at least he says he is, but Mike Delph, the state senator, is also saying, I might challenge him, which would then be interesting because Mike Delph, like Murdoch, is a pretty far right-wing candidate. And so then if you split the vote, then Lugar stands to benefit from that.
Murdoch has gained notoriety for his opposition to the Chrysler bankruptcy, filing suit against that.
And losing.
But that is something which has earned a lot of accolades from conservatives who didn't like the bailouts, who were opposed to that. Delph, meanwhile, his kind of pet issue is immigration.
Right.
Lugar is under fire from a lot of the far right-wing conservatives for both his support of the DREAM Act, which was trying to give legal immigration status to students and military people, and also for his voting in favor of Obama's judicial nominees.
Right. Although he did vote to repeal health care reform.
He did.
So,
He did.
I mean, you know.
He did, but then when you're talking about social issues, you're talking about the Supreme
Right.
Court, you're talking about the Dream. These are issues that have him, under fire, definitely.
Which is ironic because, you know, his signature item, you know, his big concern as you know, one of the nation's top diplomats, basically,
Right.
you know, is strategic arms limitations.
Right.
And so he's under the gun for wanting to limit arms. So,
Yeah. So I mean,
Interesting way to phrase it.
So I think that this race is really going to shape up to see. It's going to tell us a lot about where the Republican Party is in Indiana, because Lugar, like I said, has been respected. He wasn't even opposed by the Democrats in his last election. That's how popular he is. So
right.
I think people, like, I mean, going back to talking about Daniels, I think people, a lot of people across the country are tired of hearing about social issues, and they really want to focus on pocketbook issues. Until you get those resolved, that a lot of the other stuff's going to be on the back burner.
Exactly.
okay, well, we're going to keep watching all these and any other political developments. We'll bring them to you in the coming weeks. So for this week, for Doug and Mark, thanks for watching.
Thank you, Robert.